Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Sarah. Today we have the pleasure to be speaking with Sarah Moss. Welcome back to this YouTube channel where we give the voice to the families. Sarah, welcome.
Hiya.
Thank you for joining me. And Sarah Moss, today we are here to share your story with everyone, and especially hopefully with your kids, because I'm sure that your kids are going to watch your video.
Yeah.
Right, Sarah, so we are going back to your when about you are around 18, I would say. So you have grown up in with your mom and your dad, and your family has never been involved with the social workers. And when you are about 18 years old, you get a qualification and you do something that not everyone has the opportunity to do. Can you say to us, please?
So, when I was 4 years old and I was in school, the teacher went around the classroom and she said, "What would you all like to be when you grow up?" And all these little children were like, "I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to be a vet, I'm going to be a hairdresser." And she got to me and she said, "Sarah, what are you going to be when you grow up?" And I said, "I'm going to be a nursery nurse, an early years practitioner, just like my mother." I said, "But then I'm going to go and work and live abroad." And she patted me on my shoulder and she said, "That's a lovely dream, that." And then at the age of 19, I got myself a job working for My Travel, which was a holiday company at the time.
Yeah.
And I went being a children's representative, and I went working in mainland Spain, the Canary Islands, Cyprus, the Balearics, and I actually looked after children that were on holidays. Then after that, I came home for a short while. After 6 summers and 3 winters, I came home for a short while, and then I applied for a job to be an English teacher in a bilingual kids academy in Switzerland. And I went working alongside of a German teacher, and all day, every day, we were teaching children from all over the world, aged between 4 months up to 2 years old, English and German.
Well done.
Then I worked on a cruise ship for a year. I did a world voyage, and I worked in the kids' club on board, basically, with children, again, from all different walks of life, from all different backgrounds and cultures. And then it's always been my plan from being young to go to New Zealand, because we have family there. So I moved to New Zealand. I spent 2 years in New Zealand, and my plan was to get residency. But I was actually gifted with my
Sarah,
eldest daughter.
let me just interrupt you there, please. Would you mind just to try to find a place just for your phone? So I think you are holding your phone.
There we go.
That's very good. That's it. Yeah, it's good. Right. Sarah, so you have, when you are in New Zealand, how many years have you worked as a qualified early childhood practice?
So I am qualified in 2003.
Yeah.
I spent a year working in a private day nursery here in the UK. And then June 2004 was when I got the job working for My Travel. And by the time I got to New Zealand, 2013, so 2003.
So you told me that before. You told me that you have done like 20 years. So
I've got 20 years now of early years, of special educational needs, of safeguarding, of child development, also child brain development.
So well done. So Sarah, you always knew what you want to do since you are very young, and you have traveled the world. You have been in Europe. You have been to New Zealand. and so many people, they do not know even the beach that is in a few miles from town, right? So you have done quite a lot. You can see that you are a very strong woman. You have a dream and you know what is good for you, and you went and to reach that. Now when you are in New Zealand, you just said that you wanted residency to stay in New Zealand.
So my plan was to get residency and be a citizen of New Zealand, but then I actually found out I was pregnant with my eldest daughter.
Yeah.
I'd started the process of residency,
Yeah.
and then when I spoke to the visa, they were like, unfortunately, we can't grant you anything now.
Okay.
And you can stay here till a certain date, but then you'd be here illegally. So unfortunately, I had to come home. Obviously, it was my first ever child. It was my first ever pregnancy, and I was 30 years old, and clearly the time was right for me to be a mother. So I come back to the UK.
And when you are going back to UK, you were already in contact with a man on internet. You were speaking with someone that was back home, and it seems that you were in love with him.
I wasn't in love with him. We were talking, and obviously he was like, I want to have a family. I'd love to meet up with you. Obviously, I was pregnant with with my eldest daughter, and I felt quite uncomfortable. So we didn't meet until after my eldest daughter was born. Then we met, and although he seemed all right, I had this niggly gut feeling, and something didn't quite sit right. But I kept talking to him, and then my eldest daughter was born on the 30th of July in 2015, and then a couple of weeks after she was born, I continued to talk to this man, and then in June 2016, I finally gave in to that niggly feeling, and I pursued a relationship with this man who was saying he wanted to be a dad, he wanted to have a family, he wanted to go on family holidays, he wanted to have a nice home, and blah, blah, blah. And then
he was promising you a dream, right?
So yeah, basically.
He was along with your dream, have a family. Yeah. So in New Zealand, unfortunately, the person didn't do what you were expecting, and the family was not in New Zealand, and back home there is someone that is promising you a dream, and you, as a girl, what you want is a family, is to be happy. And I suppose you give him the opportunity to see if he's really what he says. And until now, so when you go back home, he knows that you are pregnant, right?
Yeah.
So you are honest in there with him.
Yeah.
Is he honest with you about his past? Obviously, I know what I mean with this, but does he say anything about addictions that he has in the past?
No, nothing at all. He came across as this really genuine, decent, honest man. And all my friends were like, look how good he is with your eldest daughter, even though he's not her biological father. And even though I had this niggly feeling that something didn't feel right, in the end, I give in.
And there is and let me say, Sarah, as well, for a man that wants to be father of a child that is not his own, that is not that common, is it? So
no, it's not really. So it was.
You think this is a very nice guy. You want to
Yeah.
do something that most of the men probably they would run away from, right? Yeah. So, carry on, please.
So obviously, and then obviously my friends having inputs and saying, but look how good he is, you wouldn't get a man like that. Then literally, it was like, I want to be a dad, and I wasn't ready because my eldest daughter wasn't even one. Then it kept going on and on and on and on and on, and I felt pressured. Bang, so we got together on the 7th of June 2016, and on my daughter's first birthday in July 2016, I was actually announcing at my daughter's first birthday that I was actually pregnant with my youngest daughter.
So you start to live with him?
Yeah, we started to live together, and he was working nights. Then obviously I ended up heavily pregnant when I was heavily pregnant. So Christmas 2016, I was going to buy my eldest daughter Christmas presents, and we were sat in the car, and we pulled up to buy my daughter Christmas presents, and my partner drove all the way through parked cars, knowing that I was struggling in the pregnancy, and I said, where are you going? We're meant to be going to Smith's. And he went, I'm going parking this car somewhere where you can get your fat ass out of this car, you fat bitch. And I remember sitting there.
That's all right. I think that word is not that bad. Not that bad in the meaning of swearing. So I think you can actually say. I didn't mean call it to you. It's horrible. But I think he called you. Just say it, please. What did you call you?
He basically called me a fat bitch, and he went and parked the car in a space where there was nothing on either side, and I actually started to cry, and I said, I'm not going now. I said, I'm not getting out of the car, and he kind of slapped me on my arm and went, you're being pathetic, you're overreacting. And I was like, I'm not. I was like, you know how much I'm struggling. I was like, I'm not getting out of this car. I said, I'll come back when my father can bring me. And as we drove off, he just sat there, you're pathetic, making all these he was just shouting obscenities at me, basically.
Yeah.
And then from that moment on, it just got worse and worse and worse.
A man, I'm not excusing the behavior of a man, but even if we are making a big thing of it, when we are pregnant, we have all the hormones, we are upside down, and these men sometimes they don't even realize what they are doing, because if our body is completely different and we are struggling even with our body, we are struggling with emotions, everything. If we have someone saying that you are a fat bitch, you feel destroyed. You feel the man is not even feeling attracted to us. So, but unfortunately, it was not just that, right? It was not just pathetic. It was not just that, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was the start of a long line of emotional and psychological abuse. And obviously, the day my daughter was born, she was very, very poorly. She had strep B meningitis, she had sepsis, she had an infection level of 145, and she was fully ventilated for the first 5 days of life. And I'll never forget coming out of the shower, and as I looked down, after giving birth to her, I looked down and I went, oh my gosh, I can see my feet again. And my partner at the time sat there and went to me, from where I'm standing, you still look the same. And I was like...
Horrible.
He used to throw me out my own home with a toddler and a newborn baby, because he used to work nights. I was doing all the feeds. My eldest daughter didn't sleep through, so nowhere was I getting any sleep. And then he worked nights, and he'd literally come home at like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and be like, once both these children are up, you need to get out because I need sleep. And I'd be like, what about me? I need sleep. And if they asked if I could have a shower, he'd say to me, you can't look after them kids, you can't cope with them kids unless you've got me. But no, when I actually look back at it, I was coping with them kids. It was me that was doing everything. And then it became apparent that he had a painkiller addiction, and he was taking tramadol, and he was taking codeine. And then I later found out he was also using illicit drugs, cocaine. And it got to 2018, and I said, you know what? I was like, this is not healthy. I am not happy. I was like, I want you to go back to your mother's, please. And then he started with a lot of nasty behaviours towards me.
Because, Sarah, most of it, and first of all, you want to protect your children from a bad environment.
Yeah.
So you asked him to leave.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. Like, the home environment wasn't happy. And
was it physical abuse at that time?
There was never any physical abuse. It was all emotional, psychological, financial, a lot of coercion and a lot of control. Me being accused of sleeping about, me being accused of having relationships and cheating, and I was like, how? Because I also worked. So I had 2 small children. I worked. I ran a household. And like I said, he wasn't there. He was working nights and then sleeping all day. And I was like, where is this time where I'm so-called meant to be cheating and where I'm so-called meant to be having affairs? And
Sarah, were you cheating him?
No.
Okay.
He was cheating on me though, and he was getting females to send me nasty messages telling me to go and kill myself and that my children will be better off with me dead.
Okay.
Then in about October 2018, we went and had couples therapy. He promised me he was going to change. He promised me that he was stopping the painkillers. Things were all right for a short period.
And this was before or after you asked him to leave?
Yeah, so he returned in October 2018. So we split up from about June 2018 to October 2018, and then he returned. Promised me he was going to change his ways. Promised me everything was going to be different. For a short period of time, it was.
So this is the typical behavior of domestic violence, and that's the typical behavior of a victim of domestic violence, because it feels so that it is your fault.
Trauma bonding, basically.
And so, yeah, carry on, please.
All the love bombing and the gaslighting, and so we ended up getting back together. Things were okay for a little while. Then obviously COVID hit, and we both were key workers. The children were still going to daycare, but then his addictions really spiralled out of control. He was vomiting, he was constantly having headaches, he had no energy. He was taking 4 tramadol at one time, 4, 5 times a day. He was begging family to give him tramadol. He was snorting cocaine left, right and centre.
And then you have the decision, and this needs to stop, I need to protect my children, and you ask him to leave.
Yeah, June 2021. I finally said, enough's enough. You're abusing me constantly. I'm not happy. I don't feel my children are safe.
Yeah.
I want to leave. I want you to go back to your mother's.
Yes.
I want you to prove that you are getting professional help.
Yeah.
And until you can prove that you are getting professional help, please just stay away from me and these children.
So you were strong enough to say, let's put an end to this. I'm going to protect my children. I'm going to improve my life. I'm strong to make a change, and I'm not going to feel bad again, and you are not going to make me feel bad, and let's finish with this. And I'm going to ask someone to help me and my children. So who did you get involved with?
So my eldest daughter, as this was coming about, there was a change in my eldest daughter's behaviour. She started to cry hysterically. She started to become very clingy.
Sorry, let me just interrupt you in there. Sorry, there is obviously, I know, so I'm going to ask you. There is something that you have not done here. You have not done, not now, but you have done it later on. There is the report on the police. You didn't do it, right? That looking back probably was a mistake.
So basically, when my eldest daughter was about 3, and when my youngest daughter was about 16 months old, he was on a come down, and he was on a cold turkey from his painkillers, and we were bathing the girls, and all I heard was this loud, and as I turned around, my 16-month-old was screaming hysterically, and she had a big massive red handprint on her back. And I literally grabbed her, and I was crying. I was like, oh my God. I was like, what the hell have you done? And he was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And I was like, do you know what? Just get out. I was like, just go to work. Get out now and stay away from us. And obviously he came home that night and he was like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, do not talk to me. And now when I look back at it, I know I should have rang the police.
But you have not done it. But you have not done it. You thought that you were doing the right thing. You thought that at the end he's still a good person and he's not going to do anything wrong to you and to your children. Yeah. So
basically, and then obviously his temper became so short. He used to shout at the girls. He used to shout at me. He used to be quite rough and pick the girls up and like slam them down. And I'd be like, stop it. You're going to end up hurting somebody. So then by June 2021, I was like, you know what? Enough's enough. I'd given up my job. I worked as a healthcare assistant on a children's ward. And because I was quite successful, because I was earning more money than he was, because I had money left at the end, because I was earning some good money, because I could get my hair done professionally, because I could buy myself some nice clothes rather than the shabby, old-fashioned clothes that he wanted me to wear, he started to feel threatened, and obviously his painkiller addiction spiralled out of control. I panicked for the care of my girls, so I gave up my job. My high-paid, well-to-do job working for the NHS on the children's ward, which is what I'd always wanted to do. I gave it up. I said to him, you're going to have to leave now. You're going to have to leave. I'm taking all the correct steps. And then literally, he went and made a C100, which is for contact with his daughter. Because he had some money. But in this process, my eldest daughter, there started to become a change in her behaviour. She started to cry hysterically. She started to say at 5-year-old that she wished she'd never been born. She didn't want to be left alone with him, which I thought was odd.
So and then, when he does this complaint, so it's him that get the social services involved?
It is, yes.
You have not done the police report? And he's the one that actually goes to the social services first, because you stay with the kids, your two daughters, and
Yeah.
he makes a complaint because he wants to be near his daughter.
Yeah.
And now you are saying that there is more to it because your oldest daughter has a different behaviour.
Yeah. There was a change in her behaviour. I went to my doctors. I went to the schools. I was screaming from the rooftops saying, this is what's happening. And then he made this C100 because he had money. And then the next minute, I got malicious welfare concerns occurring, where police and social services were coming out to my home address because apparently my children didn't have beds. My children, I was smacking my children, and every time they came out, and every time they were like, "This is malicious." Every time I let them in my house, I said, "Look round." I said, "Go upstairs, look in the cupboards," and then this continued and continued and continued. Then in May 2022, my eldest daughter, after having an education at school and being taught safe touch, bad touch, healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, friendships, my 5-year-old daughter basically said that when I was working nights on the children's ward, that my ex-partner touched her where her knickers are meant to go, which was obviously, it was mind-boggling.
So she says this to you when your partner has not been in the house now for a while.
Yeah.
While you have to deal with social services coming into your house, when he put a complaint because he wants to be near his daughter and your other oldest daughter, and now it's just not the physical abuse. There is something else that you have to deal with. Your oldest daughter say that you had touched her in a bad touch, with a bad touch.
Yeah, basically. And I reported it to police. I reported it to social services. And basically, in this process, he was lying about his drug addiction. He was basically saying that I was doing that to parentally alienate him, and I was lying, and that he had no addictions, and that this, that, and the other. And then all these police welfare concerns continued, and then August 2022, my children were taken by Wigan NBC.
That is near Manchester.
And my contact was meant to be 6 hours a week in 2-hour blocks. I only ever got 4 hours weekly in 2-hour blocks. Then we finally went to court, and he was finally Herstrand tested. And when that first Herstrand test came back, I then had the social worker ring me up and say, "We're very, very sorry, sir, that we didn't believe you." That she went, "His drugs test has come back." And when it come back, there was 4,800 milligram of tramadol. There was 2,500 milligram of cocodamol. There was 1,700 milligram of codeine. There was amitriptyline, Zappy, cocaine, benzo, morphine. And I was like, wow. And even though it's all there, the family courts have manipulated and twisted everything, I'm still being called a liar.
So Sarah, the social worker, when she saw the the hair, because when the people they do the drugs, when you consume the drugs, the drugs they stay in the hair, and when they do an exam to the hair, you can see that the person has taken drugs, and I think it stays in the hair for many years. So you have done that test. They have done the test to him, and obviously the social workers, they did believe him that you was the good guy and you were the bad mother. So she apologized to you that she didn't believe you. But now it seems because they have built all the story against you, they didn't want to go back. So this is a fact. The hair test is a fact, and it can prove who is saying the truth and who is lying. But instead of using that as a proof and save your children and help you, the social worker actually says that you lie.
So even though mine came back negative, I've been accused of being a liar, and I'm like, how can I lie? How can I provide something that has come from my body, and if it's come back negative, how can I be telling lies? And then they suspended my contact on 2 occasions. On the first occasion for 7 weeks, on the second occasion for 6.5 weeks, and by law, without a section 34.4, the legal maximum that a local authority is allowed to suspend your contact is 7 days. So this caused a lot of distress to me. This caused a lot of distress to my children. My children starting to fear abandonment. My children not knowing, because all my contacts have always been positive. Nobody could fault me. My children were seeing mummy get happy and getting better as they were being told. And then all of a sudden they don't hear from me and they don't see me for 6.5 and 7 weeks.
So when the social services, they get involved, the children, they stay with you for a while, or are they taking you straight away?
They're taken straight away.
And where they are, who they are?
They were placed with a family member initially.
Yeah.
And then on Christmas Eve 2022, my children were taken at 7 p.m. at night on Christmas Eve from the family member to a complete and utter stranger, screaming hysterically because they didn't know when they were going to be seeing the family again and when they were going to be seeing the mummy again.
How old were your daughters when this has happened?
6, 5 and 6.
So I'm sure that your kids now, they still remember.
Sorry, they were 5 and 7.
I'm sure that your daughters, they still remember that on Christmas, when they were supposed to be at home and opening the gifts, everything that they have planned and waited for that long, the social worker comes along with the police and they take them in the middle of the night at 7 p.m. right near Christmas, and they are put with strangers.
Yeah. And then we went into the fact finding in court, and that was like a 9-day process. It was lengthy. Under oath, my father openly admitted that he'd assaulted me. Under oath, the social worker openly and fairly stated that they had no evidence at all to back or support their allegations against me. Under oath, they heard my ex-partner lie continuously, snigger about things in regards to me. And it was concluded by the judge, HHJ Hettenstall at Manchester Family Court, that my ex-partner domestically abused me, lied about drugs, lied about neglecting the children, and she'd found him guilty of doing such, and he suffered no consequences of any of it. When it's actually perverting the course of justice, it's perjury, it's contempt of court. Domestic abuse is meant to be a criminal offence, there's meant to be laws, and even though she's found him guilty of such, she's granted him a non-molestation order so that he can continue to abuse me through the law.
So...
And even though the law clearly states that local authorities cannot remove children without sufficient evidence, and even though she heard the social worker under oath, because this is a serious miscarriage of justice, she's continued, and I'm being used as this scapegoat.
So you had an idea of justice, you had an idea of social workers, because you have never been involved with social workers in your whole life.
But because of my career.
You have an idea of family courts. They are in there to protect the family. Social workers, they are in there to protect the children. But you have not been heard. They have not protected you. And I believe that your youngest daughter was given to him.
So my two little girls have been split against the clinical psychologist report. One child has been given to Alan Moss, who is a 64-year-old man who has a lot of health conditions.
Who is your biological father?
He's my biological father, and he's also the man that pinned me down and assaulted me as a 37-year-old woman. And then my youngest daughter has been placed with him, even though he's sustained no absence from drugs. It's been proven that he's never been a primary carer for the children. His parenting assessment, the independent social worker actually identified future risk of harm, but they've still, and even though nobody could fault my contact, even though the judge couldn't fault my contact, my relationship has been ceased to 7 times a year, and
Sarah,
I'm not...
Let me just interrupt you in there. Your final hearing was in October 2023.
Yeah.
But there is a thing called the guardian of the children, and they are supposedly to say
and the children.
Decide what's best for the children. So the final hearing is in October 2023, and in June 2023, what does she say to you?
So the children's guardian in June 2023 went to see my girls. She made a final report, and when she went to see my girls, she went and told the children in June 2023, without a final contested hearing, that they were being split up, that my eldest daughter was going living with Alan Moss, and that my youngest daughter was going living with John Gorman, and that they were only going to see me 7 times a year. So my right to fair trial under Article 6 of the Human Rights Act had completely been abolished.
So the guardian of the children... So
due process hadn't been followed.
So the person that is in there to decide what's best for the children, for 2 girls, thinks that the best for an 8-year-old girl is to be around and alone in a house with a 64-year-old man.
Yeah, basically.
Being the grandfather, but he's a man and he's old.
Exactly.
To me, it's like there is something really odd in here, because the babies that they are taken from the mothers and the grandparents, they put the step forward and say, give the baby to the grandparents, give a chance to the child to grow up within the family, and they say, no, 60 years old is too old. But now, an 8-year-old girl can stay and live with an old 64-year-old man alone. that
Yeah.
actually, from what you said to me, he has actually alcohol problems.
Yeah, he's had drink problems. He sat back and watched my mother be abusive towards me when I was a child and did absolutely nothing. He's obviously pinned me down and assaulted me as a grown woman, and he thinks that's acceptable, and the courts have heard that.
And when you have all the evidence to show that you have not been through any alcohol, any drugs, but the father of your youngest, actually, they have the proof through the hair that he has lied to the court, he has lied to the social workers, he was involved on drugs, and he so many things. But actually, the guardian gives and supports that the youngest should stay with him and should grow up with him. Regarding
his daughter, who isn't even biologically related to him, is being given rights over me.
So he can actually see your oldest daughter, that is not even his daughter, but you cannot see her. What about the concerns? I wouldn't say concerns, but when she said that he has touched her in the wrong way, what did the social workers do with that?
They've done absolutely nothing. They've manipulated it all, and even though they have no evidence whatsoever to back or support these allegations, the judge is basically using me to cover up for the failings of these professionals, and I am being called a child abuser. I've lost my career. I've not only lost my motherhood, I've lost my career. I've lost my reputation. I've never been sacked. I've never had any professional ever raise any concerns in regards to my two little children. And I've still got professionals telling me that these two children have been raised to a very high standard.
So in your profession, you were dealing with children, you never had any complaints, and now you cannot work with children because of these false allegations that they have been made towards you. You are not with your daughters, you are not protecting them, and the man that has abused your children has been given more rights than to you. Now, I know that there is a very recent report that was done in the 19th of January 2024, and it was from an independent advocate. Could you share, please, what is on this report?
So, every child that is incurred is legally entitled to have an independent advocate so that they can have the voices and the wishes and the feelings heard. Women NBC failed to tell my two little girls this, so I went and did it. While I still hold parental responsibility, I went and did it. It's been granted, and Anne Nelson has been out and seen my two children. My eldest daughter is showing concern for her granddad in regards to his health-related issues, which an 8-year-old little girl should not be worrying about that. He is a grown man. That burden shouldn't be upon that 8-year-old little girl. And both my children have stipulated and stated that they miss me very much, and that they want to spend more time with their mummy. My youngest daughter has actually stated that she misses me very, very much, and that she wants to come home to mummy, and she wants to live with mummy and just see daddy occasionally. And then she stated that it can be weeks, days without seeing me, which is parental alienation being solicited by the local authorities and by the family courts. we as parents, when we're trying to protect our children, if your ex-partner plays the parental alienation card, you're criticised and you're called rotten. But then here are them doing that to me.
Now, how many times are you seeing your children per year? When was the last time? Seven times a year.
I haven't seen my children since the 22nd of December. I get to see them tomorrow for 2 hours. And I'm having to celebrate my daughter's 7th birthday because they're not even allowing me to see her on her 7th birthday in March. So I've had to go all out and buy her all balloons, and I'm having a cake made, and because otherwise I'm not going to get that opportunity.
And you have said to me that in meetings that you have with your daughters, because the meetings they are you three together, has the kids been brainwashed against you?
There's times when they sit there and if one of them says something which will slip up, the other one looks and goes, and then when I say what's going on, girls, they say they try to cover up, when I've always taught my children that we don't tell lies and that we're open and honest with one another. And there's been occasions when they've said things that are inappropriate, these conversations that all these other people are having, but yet I'm not allowed to have normal conversations and discuss things with my children.
But have you noticed that they are against you? Have you noticed that there is conversations?
More and more against me. I'm starting to fear that I really just don't care and like I have abandoned them, because these people are telling them that that is the case when it's not at all. I am fighting as hard as I can to get these babies home, but the system is so broken and so outdated.
So how old are your children right now? How old are they?
6 and 8.
6 and 8.
So it's been nearly 2 years.
Nearly 2 years on this nightmare. Now, do you see your children on social media?
So I have found my 8-year-old daughter just before Christmas on Snapchat, and the videos are disgusting. There's a lot of swearing.
But did you open the Snapchat account for her?
So basically, no, it's not come from me. I don't know who set up the Snapchat account, but it's connected to her number. And she's come up, and these videos are public. It's not like it's private. And then I've got people calling my 8-year-old daughter an ugly bitch, telling her that she's fucking ugly, and telling her, basically being very abusive towards her.
So if your daughters, they would be with you right now, would you have opened an account on Snapchat for her?
No, I would not. So basically, she wanted a phone for her 7th birthday, and I said she wasn't old enough to have a mobile phone. Alan Moss disobeyed my boundaries, and he went and bought her a telephone. This is the same man that she's now living with. I'd stated clearly she wasn't old enough to have a phone, but he completely disobeyed me and went and got her this phone for her 7th birthday. And then obviously I found her on Snapchat. The local authorities are trying to claim that there is no safeguarding issue, there is no concern, but they have got her removed now, apparently, from Snapchat.
Probably even just to stop the contact with you, isn't it? Not because she's receiving nasty message, not because she's only 8 years old and she's on internet, but just for you to stop you, even you to check on your girl and protect your girl.
Yeah.
Your girl. So there is something that I would like you to share as well. I Are you allowed to speak on public? Are you gagged, or could you share what happened in court?
So, Wigan NBC tried to get me done for being in contempt of court.
And what is that NBC? What is that?
Wigan Metropolitan Borough Council. They tried to get me in contempt of court back in May 2023. And when I walked into the court arena, I said to my barrister, we have our IPA 2000, which is Regulatory Investigations Powers Act, which basically states that social workers are only allowed to surveillance a client's social media once. Obviously, my social media is all private. So I posted on social media in a group about court proceedings. Nowhere did I mention my children. Nowhere did I mention my ex-partner. I just named the judge and I named the social services. And obviously we've now got this new pilot scheme here in the UK where they're starting to open family courts. Obviously we have the freedom of speech as well under the Human Rights Act. So as soon as my barrister put all this down in front of the judge, and then I obviously stated that they were in contempt of court because they'd suspended contact with no section 34.4. As soon as I said that, the judge gave me a very dirty look and she went, this time I am not going to be holding Miss Moss in contempt of court. She went, but I am giving Miss Moss the legal opportunity to get my name and get these posts removed from Facebook. And I stated that that would not be happening. But I do know of other parents and other people that have been gagged, silenced, and that's a breach of the law. It's a breach of our human rights. It's like these professionals are allowed to commit criminal offences and they do so with impunity because they're never held accountable. But if we do such, we're condemned. Surely the law is the law and the law applies to everybody. And I've had solicitors tell me that I am correct. So if that's the case, why is nobody being held accountable? Only us, the parents.
So Sarah, why you contact me to speak? Have you been through your worst nightmare? Do you have anything to lose now?
I have got absolutely nothing to lose, and I am not going to be a woman who died keeping my mouth shut. I know the truth. I know the law. I know that what is happening isn't right, and I want other people to be aware so that this does not happen to them, because this seems to be like it's a big issue in the UK after all the research I've done now, and I want people to know the truth, and I don't like. There's a big thing in society where if a woman's had her children removed, it's because she has done wrong to her children.
That's a stigma in a society.
Yeah, that's stigma, and that is not the case. No, I've been through it myself. Now that I'm starting to see other mothers, it's actually very, very scary what is happening here in the UK right now.
I would say to you, Sarah, it's not only in UK. I'm still investigating a case that I was just aware yesterday. And you're not famous, I'm not famous, but I just got aware that yesterday, it seems, a famous lawyer in Austria, Vienna, she had three twins babies stolen at birth by the social services and by the police. And she's famous and she's a lawyer. So if she's famous, if she's a lawyer, if they have done to her with the excuse that she's single and she does not have time to take care of her children, they can do to you, to me. I'm not famous, I'm not a lawyer. So if they are doing these to famous lawyers, they are not afraid. So
that's because they're never held accountable and they do such with impunity.
So these people that they look at us, oh, they have taken their children from them. So these mothers, they have done something wrong. So when these people, they're actually pointing at us, I only have to say to them, you better be careful, because they are going for the lawyers.
Yeah.
So my only question is, what this lawyer was uncovering related to corruption in Austria for them to punish her in such a way. And if they do this to a lawyer, they can do this to any mother.
Yeah.
So me and you, we are in here doing a favor to all these mothers and telling them we are brave enough to give our face. We know who we are. Doesn't matter if you're going to point your finger at us. Doesn't matter if you're going to judge me and Sarah and all these other mothers, because we can't care less. We are free of that.
Yeah,
we are actually in here making you a favor to tell you and warn you. You better be careful. You better wake up. You better open your eye, because they have came for our children. We don't accept that, and we will not stay silent. And you probably better wake up.
Any child that is used for a profitable exercise is child trafficking. There is no cost on my children. There is no cost on any child.
They have not protected your children, not even from drugs, not from abuse. No. They have not let your children even to stay together. They have not heard you. They have not heard your children. They have not heard an independent advocate. They only care about
what is filling their pockets.
Yeah, and what they think they want to do, because they are the law and they do whatever they want. Now,
that's correct.
Now, if you know that your children, they are listening to you, and now finally they know what has happened to you from the beginning, what do you want to say to your daughters, Sarah?
All I want to say to my two little girls is that Mummy loves them very much, and Mummy has loved them since the first time she saw them 2 lines on them pregnancy sticks, and that Mummy is not giving up in her fight. I will continue to fight to get my girls home, and that I will be there with them. I am their biggest supporters. I am their biggest fans. And I will never, ever, ever stop loving them, and I'm not going to stop fighting until this is made right.
I'm sure that your daughters, they're going to feel very proud when they will see this video. I've seen your daughters, they are very pretty. They have a very strong mother. And I know that they will come to you, because they can feel the love, they can see, and they know deep down what is right and what is wrong, and they remember how you have treated them. I'm sure that they will come to you. Sarah, I want to say thank you so much for sharing this horrible story. You have to be very strong to come in front of the camera and to say, I'm not afraid, I have lost everything, the worst has happened to me already, and I'm here for my children. I love them, and all I want is my children back.
That is correct.
Sarah, I'll give you the last words to you, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
And what do you want to say to the other mothers?
Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. I know it's hard. Don't let the system break you. Don't resort to drugs. Don't resort to alcohol. Keep going as positively as you can. Get yourself a good support network, even if it's only just 1 or 2 people that are there supporting you. That is more than enough. And just keep going. Keep going. We can't let these people win.
Sarah, if there is someone that wanted to help these mothers and wanted to expose what they are doing in England, for example, they could contact you through email. Would you be willing to share your email, please?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is MOSS77607 @gmail.com.
Okay. Because I know that many people they are listening to us, people in America. I don't believe that BBC is going to expose what is happening in England. But
I've had to speak to the BBC. I've actually got them on WhatsApp and I've actually sent them all the evidence and I've been ignored. It's like as soon as somebody mentions social services, everyone just crumbles and's like, oh, we can't do this.
Yeah, so hopefully another country will be willing to do an investigation and expose England. We never know what can happen in the future. Sarah, thank you so much for being a strong mother. I wish you the best, and
Thank you.
I want to send my love to your children. They are very beautiful.
I'm very excited to see them tomorrow.
Yes, I wish you the best, and I hope that is a lovely meeting. They know they can feel the love from you, and we keep in touch.
Brilliant. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.